If you think getting rich always looks flashy, loud, and obvious, think again. Because in real life, wealth usually doesn't arrive with fireworks. It doesn't always show up with luxury cars, designer clothes, or some dramatic I made it moment. Most of the time, getting rich is quiet. It's subtle. And if you're not paying attention, you might miss the signs completely. The truth is, a lot of people who are building real wealth don't feel rich at all. In fact, many of them still worry about money, still compare themselves to others, and still think they're behind. But behind the scenes, their habits, decisions, and mindset are creating something incredibly powerful: financial momentum. So in this video, we're going over 9 signs you're quietly getting rich, even if it doesn't feel like it yet. 1. Your money is starting to work harder than you do. One of the biggest signs you're building wealth is when your income no longer depends only on your time. At first, almost everyone earns money by trading hours for dollars. You work, you get paid. You stop working, the money stops too. But then something changes. Maybe you start investing. Maybe you buy assets. Maybe your savings begin generating interest. Your stocks begin paying dividends, or your side business starts making money while you sleep. It might not be a lot at first. It could be $20, it could be $200, but the amount isn't the point. The point is that your money has started producing more money, and once that happens, you're no longer just earning, you're building. 2. You care more about net worth than appearances. A lot of people look rich. Very few people actually are. Real wealth starts growing when your priorities shift from how things look on the outside to what's happening behind the scenes. When you stop asking, how can I look successful, and start asking, how can I become financially stronger? That's a major turning point. Maybe you don't upgrade your car just because you can. Maybe you don't feel the need to impress anyone with expensive purchases. Maybe you'd rather invest an extra $1,000 than spend it on something nobody will remember next week. That mindset may not be glamorous, but it's powerful, because rich people focus on ownership. Broke people focus on optics. 3. You've built habits that make bad financial decisions harder. Wealth doesn't usually come from one perfect move. It comes from a system that protects you from repeated mistakes. If your bills are automated, your investments are automatic, your savings come out before you can spend them, and your lifestyle has some structure to it, that's a huge sign of progress. Why? Because you're no longer depending on motivation. You're depending on systems, and systems win. Every time. You don't need to be perfect with money. You just need to make good decisions easy and bad decisions inconvenient. If you've done that, you're already operating differently from most people. 4. You no longer panic over small expenses. This one is easy to overlook. If an unexpected bill shows up and your first reaction is not fear but just mild annoyance, that's progress. A car repair, a higher utility bill, a medical copay, a flight change fee, if these things don't completely throw your life off track, that means you've created breathing room. Financial breathing room is one of the earliest signs of wealth, not because it's flashy, but because it gives you options, and options are expensive. If you have them, you're doing better than you think. A lot of people assume they'll feel rich when they can buy anything, but often the first real taste of wealth is much simpler. You can handle problems without falling apart. 5. You think long-term, even when short-term rewards are tempting. Quiet wealth is built by people who can delay gratification without feeling deprived. That means you can say no to things that feel good now because you care more about what your future looks like. You don't need instant proof that you're winning. You're comfortable planting seeds and waiting. That might mean investing instead of spending, learning instead of showing off, building skills instead of chasing status. And the crazy part is this often feels boring while you're doing it, but boring is underrated. Boring builds portfolios. Boring builds businesses. Boring builds freedom. The people who quietly get rich are usually the ones willing to be underestimated for years. 6. Your circle is changing. Another sign you're getting richer is that your conversations are changing. You start spending more time around people who talk about opportunities, investments, business ideas, taxes, growth, and long-term planning. Less gossip, less drama, more strategy. Your environment matters more than people realize. If you're surrounded by people who normalize wasting money, avoiding responsibility, and making impulsive decisions, that affects you. But if you're around people who are building, thinking, and improving, that rubs off too. You don't need rich friends to get rich, but being around financially responsible, growth-minded people is a huge advantage. 7. You value freedom more than flexing. The quietest wealthy people often don't want attention. They want control. Control over their time. Control over where they live. Control over who they work with. Control over whether they can say no. That's what money really buys. Not just stuff, but space. Space to think. Space to rest. Space to choose. If your financial goals are becoming more about freedom than image, you're evolving in the right direction. Because once you understand that money is a tool for independence, you stop wasting it trying to prove something to people who were never going to be impressed anyway. 8. You're getting better at spotting bad deals. A major sign of financial maturity is that you're harder to manipulate. You notice when something is overpriced. You recognize emotional marketing. You don't immediately buy into hype. You understand the cost of debt, the danger of lifestyle inflation, and the trap of buying liabilities that look like assets. This matters because wealth is not just about what you earn. It's about what you avoid losing. The ability to walk away from bad deals, bad subscriptions, bad investments, and bad habits can save you more money than any raise ever will. 9. You're building a life you don't need to escape from. This might be the most important sign of all. Real wealth is not just the number in your bank account. It's the quality of the life your money supports. If you're building stability, peace, flexibility, and purpose, you're already winning. Maybe you're not at the finish line yet. Maybe your portfolio isn't huge. Maybe you're still in the middle of the grind. But if your life is becoming more secure, more intentional, and less chaotic, that is wealth in progress. Because getting rich quietly isn't about looking successful. It's about becoming stronger month after month, year after year, in ways most people never see. So if you recognize yourself in some of these signs, give yourself credit. You may not be where you want to be yet, but you're probably a lot further ahead than you think. And that's the thing about quiet wealth. By the time everyone else notices, you've already built it. 9 signs you're quietly getting rich. Most people think getting rich should feel obvious. They imagine some dramatic moment where their bank account explodes, their lifestyle upgrades overnight, and suddenly everyone around them can see they've made it. But that's usually not how it happens. In reality, wealth grows in silence. It builds in habits, routines, choices, and small decisions that don't look exciting, until one day the results become impossible to ignore. So if you've been wondering whether you're actually making progress, this video is for you. Because chances are, if you're doing certain things consistently, you're already building wealth, even if it doesn't feel impressive yet. Here are 9 signs you're quietly getting rich. 1. You don't spend every raise. The average person gets a raise and immediately upgrades their life. Better apartment, better car, more subscriptions, more dinners out, more stuff. But one of the clearest signs you're getting richer is that your income goes up and your lifestyle doesn't rise at the same speed. That gap matters. That gap is where wealth lives. If you've started taking extra income and using it to pay off debt, invest, build cash reserves, or buy assets instead of just increasing your monthly expenses, you're doing something powerful. You're keeping the difference instead of consuming it. And that difference, repeated over time, can completely change your life. 2. You have less financial noise in your life. Rich people are not always the people with the biggest paychecks. Sometimes they're just the people with the fewest financial fires. No constant overdraft stress, no late payment panic, no endless cycle of borrowing to fix last month's mistakes, no emotional chaos every time an expense pops up. If your money situation feels calmer than it used to, that's not boring. That's progress. Financial peace is often the first visible symptom of invisible wealth building. The quieter your money problems get, the louder your financial discipline has become. 3. You understand the difference between income and wealth. A lot of people chase a high income, but wealth is what you keep, own, and grow. The moment you truly understand that, your decisions start changing. You stop being impressed by expensive lifestyles funded by debt. You stop comparing yourself to people with flashy spending habits. You stop assuming that someone making more money is automatically doing better financially. Instead, you focus on cash flow, assets, savings rate, and net worth. That shift is huge, because once you stop chasing the illusion and start measuring the real thing, you put yourself in a position to actually win. 4. You're becoming harder to impress. This is a big one. If luxury branding, status purchases, and social media flexing are starting to lose their power over you, that's a major sign of growth. Why? Because marketing works best on insecurity. The less you need external validation, the harder it becomes for companies and people to sell you an identity. You begin asking better questions. Do I actually want this? Will I still care in 6 months? Is this improving my life or just my image? That kind of thinking protects your money, and protected money has a way of multiplying. 5. You can go longer without income than you used to. Even if it's just a few weeks or a couple of months, having a cushion changes everything. It means you're not trapped. It means every decision doesn't have to come from desperation. It means if life hits you, you have some time to breathe, think, and respond. That's huge. A lot of people think wealth begins when you can buy whatever you want. I'd argue it begins much earlier, when you're no longer one missed paycheck away from crisis. If your runway is increasing, your stress is decreasing, and your emergency fund is becoming real, you are not just saving money, you are building leverage. 6. Your default response is to invest in yourself. Quietly rich people tend to think like builders. Instead of spending mindlessly, they ask, how can this money create a return? Sometimes that means investing in index funds. Sometimes it means learning a skill, improving health, building a side business, upgrading tools, or buying back time. The common thread is that you stop viewing money as something to burn and start viewing it as something to deploy. That is a completely different game. When you begin making decisions based on return, financial, mental, emotional, or strategic, you stop operating like a consumer and start operating like an owner. 7. You're more patient than you used to be. Patience is one of the most underrated wealth-building skills in the world. You stop needing overnight success, you stop expecting instant proof, you stop abandoning good strategies just because they're slow. Maybe your investments are compounding quietly, maybe your business is small but growing, maybe your debt is shrinking month by month, maybe your skills are improving behind the scenes. That may not look dramatic online, but in real life, that's exactly how wealth is built. The people who lose usually want fast results. The people who win usually stick around long enough for compounding to show up. 8. You make decisions with a future version of yourself in mind. One of the strongest signals of growing wealth is that your present decisions are increasingly guided by your future priorities. You think about the cost of bad habits. You think about taxes. You think about maintenance. You think about opportunity cost. You think about time. That's mature money behavior. When you start filtering purchases, commitments, and risks through the question, will future me thank me for this? You create alignment. And alignment is powerful because it prevents self-sabotage. Rich people don't just earn well, they think ahead. 9. You feel less urgency to prove anything. This might be the most overlooked sign of all. When you're quietly getting rich, something strange happens. Your need to perform starts fading. You don't need everyone to know what you're doing. You don't need to explain every move. You don't need to show off every win. That's because real progress creates confidence. Not loud confidence, grounded confidence. You know your bills are handled. You know your habits are improving. You know your money is more organized than it used to be. You know your future is stronger than your past. And when that becomes true, you stop chasing applause. At the end of the day, getting rich quietly is not about pretending to have money. It's about becoming financially solid in a way that keeps working whether anyone notices or not. So if you're spending less than you make, investing consistently, thinking long-term, avoiding unnecessary lifestyle inflation, and building stability behind the scenes, don't underestimate what that means. You may not feel rich yet. You may not look rich yet. You may not have the visible signs people associate with success. But if your habits are improving, your stress is lower, your assets are growing, and your decisions are getting smarter, then congratulations. You are quietly getting rich. And the best part, by the time it becomes obvious to everyone else, you'll already be miles ahead.